Oh shit, here we go again.
Low, low, man. Low, low, man.
You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography, yes.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Legal Mindset here today as we go live. Good to see everybody in the house. We're streaming now on YouTube and Kick at the very last minute as I'm setting this stream up. This is why I'm late. Okay, I'm justifying this, okay? Kick decided to disconnect. So we're back on Kick as well. So Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. Andrew Esquire, American attorney. We're over in Asia. Not a fast facts. This is a live. So we're doing it live, baby. I want to go over today since I want to have a kind of chill one today where we are I go over some thoughts on the last couple videos I did, the last two fast facts. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ashes of Creation, which I have a potential collaboration and update on that going. And then, well, at least Kick should be going, right? Let's see. It should be. It said it's going. So let's see. But anyways, oh, hold on. I have to click a button. Okay. Now I'm live on Kick. All right. So Kick is live now. There we go. Kick is live. So, booming it and scuffing it from the beginning. There we go. But we're all good. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys. And all these base gifters. Let me shout you out because you're really based. King Lucia with 5. Yes. Did that not play? Hold on.
Emotional damage.
Streaming software is giving me emotional damage today. Okay, thank you, King Lucia. And then we got JP Ravenfire, the mod, coming in for a big 5.
Hello, Special Department.
And last but not least, Wolfie Canum with 5 Legal Mindset memberships. And in thought that right before this stream, I actually got that there may be, and this a little bit of a teaser. I'm going to tease you guys because this is the value of a live. You get information that I'm not ready to put in a video, but I tell you guys live. This is why you make the lives. I may or may not have gotten some information on a Johnny Somali filing that was just made in his case. Now his next case is coming up on the 27th. So the cabbages are coming, right? And it's not where it's too speculative right now for me to say what's going on. And I think I'm going to save that for right before the 27th. Mind you, the 27th is not the last trial for Johnny Somali. He will have closing arguments and sentencing, which are 2 separate trials. So there's 3 trials minimum left for Johnny Somali, and that's going to go into March or April. So depending on how they schedule things. So that's going to be a minute there. But a little tease, we just got an update. There's something going on in the Somali case. So that's a little one for you there. And as thank you for Wolfie, let's get a little Somali.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Thank you for that. All right. Appreciate all the love. And also want to say thank you to Tank Rat the other day during the premiere who dropped 50. That was a big 50. Very nice. Doug Diaz gifting 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Ladies and gentlemen,
we got him.
Very based. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate the support, guys. Love it. Love being back in here with you live. I got the swear jar updated. Moodang's rocking a bucket hat today. She's feeling cool. She's got a little bucket hat. I got a lot of bucket hats, actually. That's my surprising fact about Legal Mindset is I actually have a lot of bucket hats, a lot of black bucket hats. So this is good. Very cute Moodang today. I know everyone wants me to get her the tiara, so I've been looking for tiaras. They're not actually as easy to find as you would think. You don't just find a tiara on the street. You don't find it at like the regular hat store. So I have to go somewhere special to find a tiara. So that's that's an ongoing Mudang hat search list. But as soon as I find a tiara for Mudang, she will get a tiara. Okay, a battle helmet. Okay, yeah, I probably have to go on Lazada. That's right. There you go. You know it well, Lazada. I probably have to go on Lazada. That's true. People know Asia when they say Lazada. That is probably where I have to go. I like supporting the street vendors and people that have like shops, and because I live in Bangkok and there's a lot of really cool street vendors, a lot of cool markets. So I just like walking around, and when I find something cool, I'm like, oh, that's for Mudang, right? That's my sort of way to go on that. But I may have to go to Shopee or Lazada or something like that to get that. So I'll do it, guys. Costume store. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I could find like a costume store, maybe like a kid's toy store, something like that. That's got that. But yeah, sun hat. If I see now that's one I might just be able to find around, right? Because I like supporting the street markets because I feel like that's supporting the local economy. It's a cash thing too, and I like the cash economy, so I appreciate it. And you can haggle. I like haggling. It's a good thing. It's fun. All right. So I got some updates on my other videos that I did the other premieres, and let me see the results of the poll right now. So right now, of my last videos, 40% of you watched, 40% watched Ashes of Creation, 30% Ethan Klein, and 30% just here for today. So it's pretty balanced there, but we do have a lot of Ashes of Creation love. So I will give you an update on that first. So in case you guys didn't know, I did a video on the game Ashes of Creation, which is one of the biggest from what it looks like in the filings. Once again, it looks like it's one of the biggest scams out there because you've got these Warnock lawsuits, the TFE Game Holdings, Robert Dawson lawsuit, the Yaya Legacy Trust. You've got unpaid vendors. You've got potential backer and crowdfunder class actions. So it looks really, really bad for Mr. Steven Sharif, and there's a lot of heat against him. So what the new news is that Mr. Steven Sharif may be counterclaiming. So I may be going over that counterclaim, and I may have a collaborator who is in that community and been covering this. That's potential that we may do that as like a live where I do that. I rarely have people on, but when I know that people are experts in some sort of subject matter, whatever the topic is, I'm happy to collab, share information. So we're going to work out the details on that, and we may have something, because that's always fun. When you get in a situation where it's somebody counterclaiming, you get to really examine that and see, is this true or not? Are we dealing with like a Mizkiff situation where it's a completely bunk lawsuit, or are we dealing with something like the Klein lawsuit that's got more teeth on it, right? What is it? Which type of lawsuit is this? Does it have merit? Where's it going to go? And for that, might do a collab. So that's a little preview of that. I think this is absolutely fascinating just based on the scope and scale and the allegations and the accounting. Because from what I saw of channels covering the accounting just doesn't make sense. And also the accounting lacks a lot of, lacks any tracking for that personal investment when Mr. Sharif said he went and personally invested in things. So that's just based on the analysis of the lawsuits and the information that's out there as part of Discovery. So very, very interesting. And if you're ever trying to get into Kickstarter gaming investment, I wouldn't call it investment. I would say you're gambling on Kickstarter games and whether or not that Kickstarter game is going to actually even launch. Because nowadays, with what's going on, you can get these games that are out there for years, almost a decade in the case of Ashes of Creation, and maybe they just barely launch, or maybe they don't go anywhere at all. So just consider before you put any money in these things, especially if you need that money, that may not go anywhere and you may not get what you paid for. Artemis 1020 says Legal Mindset, literally daughter clothing shopping for Mudang. I know. I care about her. I did see a really cool, I saw a cool Red Bull hat, and I was debating on the Red Bull hat. I may end up buying that at some point. I know where to find that Red Bull hat. So that may be happening for her. And we've got some other stuff because you guys were very generous, and you can always go over to Ko-Fi if you want to donate to the Mudang Hat Fund, and it's much appreciated. Felzu, member for 27 months, says Legal Mindset, have you seen the newest Skybows video, based bunny love video? Forgive me if I have the pipkins. It's okay. I've not seen that, but I will check it out after this. Thank you so much for that. I'm always looking for good videos and fun videos to show. In fact, I had a really funny one. This is one somebody emailed to me. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. About lawyers and fairies. So let me see. Is this where did this one go? Pretty much lawyers being evil. Okay, lawyers be evil. Also, as a side note, I'm really behind. I'm actually I'll get it later. We'll find it for the next stream. But that said, this may surprise people, but I actually don't watch a lot of legal TV stuff or legal show stuff. And like I've never watched other than the first episode of Suits. I haven't watched it, right? And I was just really bored one day, and I had finished work, and I was just trying to decompress. And I'm like, all right, let me watch Better Call Saul. And I got like a season or two in to that, and I was working on the side and doing some edits and research and stuff. And until I saw some of like the Crim Pro procedure, and I was like, yeah, this isn't how it works. And that's the problem with being a lawyer, is when you see how things, when you know how it actually works and you see it and you're like, oh, that doesn't how it work. It drives you nuts. It drives you nuts when you know it hasn't worked. And I was never a criminal lawyer myself. I had a girlfriend that was a prosecutor. So I heard a lot about it secondhand and sat in on a lot of trials and saw a lot of that, and had a lot of friends at the Bar Association that were prosecutors and state attorneys. But even with my limited knowledge, I knew it wasn't like that. Patrick S9022 for 10 says, if you think this was the biggest game scam, you should take a look at Star Citizen. The game's been in beta for over a decade and has nearly $1 billion in funding. I've heard about Star Citizen, and I remember looking at the concept like most things and saying the concept looked cool, right? The thought of it looked cool. But when it doesn't launch, it's a bigger problem. And I think Star Citizen, if I'm correct, and let me look this up right now, I don't think, let me not speak out of turn. So there was a lawsuit regarding that for the game engine and breach of contract, but I don't think they've had mass from investors. I don't think they've had mass suits. They did have one consumer refund suit for $4,500 in 2018 for Star Citizen, but that claim got denied because it requires binding arbitration. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. So I'll see if there's any teeth on that one. I like to wait till there's like a big lawsuit or something that's actually filed, because then you know something is coming, right? And then you know, hey, this is going to be very, very bad. And in the case of Stephen Sharif, there's multiple lawsuits and there's multiple legal violations. So jumping into that, there's a lot to clamp down on. And now he's countersuing, which is even more interesting, to have the balls to countersue, which there's two scenarios where you're going to countersue. It's a desperation move. That's always possible because you just are out of options. You're trying to clear your reputation or your name or et cetera, or put up your point. So you counterclaim, or because you actually may have some basis for that. So we're going to see, is this some sort of desperation move, or is this some sort of thing where you have a actual basis for this countersuit against the investor? Artemis says, can you look at the historical scam of Kingdoms of Amalur? It involves a state of Rhode Island, probably as big as AOC. Interesting. Is it an older one? So let me know about that. Maybe we can do like a gaming, if I want to lump them together, I could do like a gaming scams stream. That'd be fun. If it's not too much. So I'll check that out. Artemis, if you want to email me, andrewesquirelive@gmail.com. If you have any information on that, let me know. That'd be great. Fallen Hero 4567. Thank you for the one legal mindset membership. Every membership is appreciated. Yes. JP Ravenfire says, only Kickstarter I've backed is Wayward Realms by Once Lost Games, former Bethesda devs. I believe in their vision, so I was willing to take that risk. Yeah, and sometimes they pay off, and sometimes there's been games, especially like small indie games, that have shorter timelines, and they're showing you the production process, and they're showing you where they're at, and they're giving you updates. The ones that I backed in the past generally they were just putting out constant betas and then improving the beta version. So it's like, okay, here's the game, and you can play up to a certain point, and then the game stops, or so it's development, right? So okay, you're getting up to chapter 1 in the game, and then it stops, right? And then you're paying for it as they progress. So they're adding chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. So you're getting some sort of ongoing payout and they're doing something. So I felt like there's a win-win there. I'm here for the scuffs as I'm a backer Star Citizen. I have faith that it will be finished eventually. Well, there we go. Well, faith is important. Faith is very important, but you should be careful who you have faith in, right? There's some things that you can't have faith in, right? And that have it's like trust but verify, right? Felzu for 5 legal mindset memberships.
Emotional cabbage.
Alpha Delta reporting for duty. Alpha Echo member for 10 months. Thank you so much. Star Citizen lawsuit came down to the usage of the word exclusive being inconsistent. Crytek got effed, but regarding their game engine and revenue share, blah. Okay. Well, like I said, I haven't looked into the details. I just looked at the kind of summary there on the legal proceedings that had happened against them. So I mean, it seems like that's one that I would be extremely concerned with the amount of money involved. If it's truly almost $1 billion, let me look that up. Star Citizen. If it's $1 billion, is that true? 900 million in cumulative. Wow. With projections, it will surpass $1 billion. It is the most heavily funded game in history, though that's true. Developed by 30 plus years, remains in alpha. Okay. That's pretty nuts, though. That is pretty nuts. Meme Copium said he prefer older women, by the way. Yes, I do. I like, but I mean, I'm indiscriminate, but yes, I do enjoy the older ladies. They're very nice. Lord KJW for 5 says, I want to know if you've been following legal issues of Roblox regarding child predators. Yes, I have, and I plan to do future ones on Roblox. So I am very much covering Roblox, and I'm planning to maybe even get involved with that and maybe even help people out with their lawsuits involving Roblox. So I'm very much involved in that. So I'm definitely going to be covering Roblox. So, and Schlepp and I are friends. We talk behind the scenes. So I know what's going on with some of the procedure there. Obviously, there's things that we can't talk about and things that are proceeding, but Roblox is going to have a lot of litigation, and I'm on top of that. So for sure. Tankrat said, have you heard about the Valve versus Rothschild breach of patent GLSA contract by Rothschild? Not only Rothschild and his companies, but also his lawyer, maybe bigger than Nintendo versus Power World shenanigans. I heard about the Valve lawsuit, the $900 million Valve lawsuit in the UK. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. I am going to look at that one because that one seems pretty nuts, just based on the amount in them trying to sink Valve. So I will do that. So I will look into that, Tank Rat, for sure. 100%. Also, Tank Rat, a based 50 legal mindset memberships. Let's get a Shondo.
Not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
Once again, thank you, Tank Rat, and thank you the other day for giving the 50 as well. Appreciate that. And if you received a gift membership, please say thank you in the chat. From anybody today, if you receive one, please say thank you, because those gifts go a long way and give you access to the member streams, which we had one this month. We'll have another one before the end of the month, which are fun. I'm going to start doing those with no suit, so we're doing a little more casual mindset member streams. I'm probably going to do a lot of more reaction to stuff, maybe some more longer content. So let me know. Some of them will be about anime because I love anime, but we kind of vary it up on the member streams. Derp says, good morning, Legal Mindset. Hope you and Moodang are well. Moodang is doing great. She's chilling with her bucket hat. Loving it. Nick Cliff, I love supporting indie games. Hate scammers, though. And that's the problem. I hate scammers, too. And whenever I see a game that's a scam, I really wish the mechanisms for enforcement were better, especially for those Kickstarter funders that are out of their money. Now, I understand that a Kickstarter funder is funding a lot less than a big investor, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have rights and recourse. And that shouldn't mean they aren't entitled to a refund, particularly if it's a fake launch. So in the Ashes of Creation lawsuit, my argument is that launch is not a real launch. Like being out in beta or alpha or whatever for 2 months and then shutting down and not getting to a lot of what was promised on those tier lists. So when you're looking at, by the way, we're 777 right now in viewers. So we're very sanctified right now. So praise. But if they're not giving out what was promised, and a lot of those rewards were ongoing rewards that were promised, that needs to be refunded, right? Especially if they're up there at the tiers up to $10,000. There was 1,000, 10,000, I believe 45, 250, 500, etc. That money should come back, right? That money should come back. And we're on Kick and YouTube right now. Twitch gives me issues with lag, so I need to figure that out and maybe we'll see if we do Kick exclusive stuff, because Twitch was lagging me, and we can't have that. We got to have mindset smooth. Also, shout out to everybody over there on locals, Veggie Han over there, JP Ravenfire, Danielle, appreciate that. They say getting ready for Courtney Clenny. I'm going to be in love with that trial. We're going to be doing that whole trial. Don't you worry. And I may be covering more trials and doing more trial watches if we get into a slower news cycle, because there's always trials out there, and sometimes it's just fun to watch a trial. Okay. Let's see. The next one I want to talk about as a catch up from my last couple streams was Denims and the Ethan Klein lawsuit. And I'm kind of laughing here because in this one, if you haven't seen it, the Denims leaks Ethan Klein legal strategy, Casey Tron cautioned. So in that one, I go over the fact that Denims is giving out her legal strategy. She's yapping, and whenever you're yapping, it's not gonna be good, because old Denims, old dirty Denims, she's just giving away her legal strategy and telling everybody that her legal strategy is based on her feelings and based on the subjective feelings of others. So saying that a person who doesn't like you can't stream and can't react to you is not what the Ethan Klein lawsuit's about. But that's what she's going to frame it as. She's told everybody now, because she yapped, she's told everybody, hey, this lawsuit is just about him not liking me. And it's like, no, it's about you openly and notoriously and clearly saying that you want revenue and views to go to you instead of him, and them to not watch that product and use your product, your video, as a replacement, right? That is quintessential to the weighing in fair use. And what the courts may say is, if you have a clear statement like that, it carries heavy weight in the fair use analysis in showing that is not fair use and not transformative, right? So that's that strategy. But one of the defenses, and this is one that Hassan Piker made, and I want to show this video, a little clip from More Pegasus, where he clipped Hassan, and the very hilarious defense to me of these three girls now, of Denims, Casey Tron, and Frogan, is that people shouldn't cover the lawsuit, or at least shouldn't speak negatively about them in regards to the lawsuit, or shouldn't talk about, I guess he wants people to not talk about the lawsuit unless they attack Ethan Klein. It's okay if they attack Ethan Klein, right? But one of the arguments now is that all these people, Casey Tron, Denims, and Frogan, are nobodies. And because they're nobodies, nobody should cover the law. Nobody should cover anything else. I just find this argument funny. And also, I did not know, and I'll show this little clip here, that Frogan only has 76 viewers. So I did not know this, right? So RIP Frogan's channel. I'll just play like 2 seconds of this, a little bit of this clip.
Shocked to find she streams to 70 people. I see clips hating on her going mega viral every week. She literally has 70 people watching her streams to farm back clips, like, and 5 genuine viewers who like her. She hasn't fallen out because she was never a large streamer. Everyone is so fucking racist. They stalk and harass her like she's one of the biggest stars on the planet. She gets all the negatives and none of the benefits of fame. Be ashamed of what you are. Yeah.
So that was the little clip there. Him kind of endorsing these people as nobody streamers, kind of throwing them under the bus. Very hilarious. But listen, if you're out there making statements, and once again, a lot of the statements that she's made are very inciting, and you're making those statements to get a reaction, right? You're making like the 9/11 comments and the other comments about veterans and PSD. You're making those comments because you want people to engage with your content, and you want to be explosive. You want to have something controversial. You want to get people to watch you because of that, because you're giving that position, right? You have to deal with the consequences. And if the consequence is nobody wants to watch you, or nobody cares to watch you, that's on you, right? That's on you. So, and also covering somebody's lawsuit that they got themselves into and can get themselves out of is on them. Frogan can get out of this lawsuit at any time. She can settle, and she might have to make a statement she doesn't want to make. But if she's only got 76 viewers, if that's actually true, then, and that's not bullshit, then maybe she shouldn't care about what she says as part of the settlement. Maybe she should just woman up and just say what she needs to say and do what she needs to do, give over her money, and just there you go. Unless she spent all of her money on cookies and Cass, then she needs to give up that GoFundMe money and she needs to just bend the knee, right? And that's the way to go. So, all right, Tank Rat for 250 dinar says the Valve versus Rothschild is in Western District of Washington. Okay, Valve won the trial this month, and there may be personal liability against Rothschild, and there was some AI shenanigans by Rothschild's lawyer. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna look into that, and we will dig deeper. AI shenanigans. That is interesting. I don't. What type of AI shenanigans are we talking about? I mean, what type of AI citations? Okay, that's a problem if you're using AI for citations in the legal context. Now, I think AI can be really good for initial research, right? So AI is very good at initial research, but you need to go verify that because AI is not very good with synthesis. Like even on some of the topics today, so looking at them, you can get a synthesis from AI, but it doesn't necessarily give you a good analysis. And also when it comes to predicting how things come out, right? It's hit or miss, right? It can give you a percentage, but that percentage may or may not be completely accurate. So you need to be very careful with that. Go to the original resources, go to the original cases, read those, look those up, see what they say. That's the best way to use AI for legal research, right? Okay. Let's get into it with Are You Illegal? This is a fun one today because I wanted to do this after the statement by Billie Eilish, and I was going to play this later, but I'll play it now because it's great. Kind of the intro that got us all here. Hearing this absolute stupidity, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard, I'll just play it right now.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
So brave. Oh my God. So brave. So brave. So brave.
No one is illegal.
So brave. And I think she said F ice after that. So I wanted to get into, what is illegal? What's going on here? Who said SSRI body? That is mean. Yeah, we're going to get into that. By the way, just as a side note, the funny thing about all that situation was, number one, the Native American tribe that came out and said, oh, hey, by the way, your house is on our property. So if you want to give that over, right, you can give that over. Now, I remember, I think Hassan was coping and saying, oh, it's just a random person from the tribe. Okay, we'll give it to a random person from the tribe. They obviously need it more than you do, and it's their land more than it is yours, if you truly believe that. But by the way, they didn't believe in the concept of property ownership in the first place. And in the older permutations of the tribal associations, right? And then in the modern permutations, tribes sue tribes all the time over things related to land, right? So there's tribe on tribe violence, legal violence, lawfare, right, over land. So now they do believe in property. So all these old concepts that may have existed back when there weren't actual laws on the land really are irrelevant right now to the modern permutations. So that's very funny. After 13 months, I can testify I'm more based. Thank you. Welcome. When you're more based, it's more factual, more objective, and more Mudang. You have 100% more Mudang now. Kirio, 1911 for 15 Malaysian ringgit. Says, hey, hello, Legal Mindset. Can you look at Cover Corporation versus Yamashita? Cover Corporation. What is Cover Corporation doing? Interesting. I will take a look at that and see if that's something that's worth covering. If it's something that's got some meat on the bones, I'll do it. I mean, obviously, all the corporations are sus nowadays, even Phase Connect. So keeping an eye on all the VTuber corporations for any of their bad behavior. Have you reacted to your cameo multiple times? So I did one on screen, I believe. And then I talked about it. It's based. It's me fighting Johnny Somali. He's got the cup of ramyun. Very funny. I like it. Very good things. Put it in the box by Leah Flitt. Excellent work. Charles 2450 said AI apparently drafted their court papers. Well, that's a problem. It quoted cases that didn't deal with the issue and had statements by the judges in the case that he didn't make. They submitted it without checking and blamed an unpaid intern. That's But you can't do that. The thing is, as a lawyer, it stops with you. It's like a CEO, right? That's how I blame, Fishman, Sakana from Phase Connect, right? A lot of people like him, etc. But the buck stops with him with decisions of Phase Connect. Same thing with Cover Corporation, right? Where you go, it stops with him, right? Stops with everybody at the top. Riku at Niji Sanji. All these people. At the end of the day, the CEO is in charge. In a law firm, that is the lawyers. So at the end of the day, the lawyers are responsible for what they do. If they trusted an unpaid intern to do filings and they didn't check it, that they should be reported to the bar for that. I mean, their own client should report them to the bar for that. And they should be punished by the bar association for that, because that absolutely is negligence on their part to only have an unpaid intern do that and not have it checked by a lawyer. That's not at any place I've worked, and I worked both in a law firm and in-house. You never only have one lawyer look at, or one person look at legal filings. That's ridiculous. That just doesn't happen. And if it did happen, it's really bad. Ella Eagle Takadachi for 50,000 dong says there's this parent talking about their teenage daughters being Eilish fans. They even said, what's it's so dumb. It's so dumb. But the thing is, look, and there are artists out there that you can say, just shut up and do the art, right? Because that's what you're there for. You're not there for comments. You're there to do the art. You're there to do the songs. Just listen to songs. And I don't begrave people for liking particular artists, even if they don't agree with their political takes. You don't have to necessarily agree with an artist's political take. Spilsy Blaze says for 5, Legal Mindset, you should check out Saint versus Pokey Coppers, who Techie covered it. I know, and I've watched a little bit of it. I need to think about that one. But I need to think carefully about how to cover that, because right now it's a lot of back and forth. And also I have to be careful about what I show, because I wouldn't want to show anything that would get copyright claimed. Obviously, I don't want to get dragged into this thing. But it does seem like it's something brewing. So it might be interesting to cover as part of the internet drama sphere. So I am aware of that one, and that is a potential topic. So that one is out there. Aquel Happy said, will U.S. and Israel attack Iran soon, in your opinion? Actually, you know, it's funny. I'm going to be interviewing a person in the military who's got some connections on, pending things, what's going on in geopolitics, national security. It's kind of an opportunity that was presented to me by a company that I'm working with. So I took that opportunity. So that interview, it may be pre-recorded, but I'll have it up. But definitely asking about Iran is one of the things I'm going to ask about, as well as about Ukraine, etc., stuff like that. I generally don't do geopolitics, but there are crossovers with the law, and there are crossovers with kind of international law as well. So I'm interested in, if I get really good collabs or opportunities, I'll take them and kind of stick my toe in that, even if it isn't what I do all the time. I mean, I live abroad, so I deal with people from all over the world much more often, I think, than most. And some interesting characters too. Tank Rat says, lol, and Ozzy says he got denied entry at Deepport, talking social media about going to her home since no one is illegal in stolen land. Yeah, I think it was Drew Pavlo. Drew Pavlo said that Billie Eilish reported him to ICE or to Homeland Security, and he got denied. But I think it turned out that he just didn't have the right visa or whatever it was, which can happen. I've had friends coming from abroad, even Australia, Germany, and they've come to the U.S. and they've made a misstatement on why they're coming to the U.S., just a minor one. So, for example, let's say you are a person who's a freelancer and you make stuff on Fiverr and you work online, right? So you work online all the time. And when you come to the U.S. and you're standing in immigration and you're coming there as a tourist on a tourist exception, and you say, oh, yeah, and they ask you, oh, what are you going to do here? Oh, I'm going to go on vacation. Maybe I'll do a little work. And you say the word work, you can get pulled into secondary and then screened. And if it's a bad day, maybe they'll boot you back, right? If they feel like you're going to be engaging in work in the U.S., right? And you might just say that because it's factual. You work online all the time, but it's something you'd be doing during your downtime vacation, right? So you got to be thoughtful when you come to immigration and what you say. That can sometimes get you pulled into secondary. That does happen. And with certain countries, that's happened with me because I'm a streamer, right? F9 F95XM1 as a new member, welcome. And Billy Oak, he said Palantir sponsorship. Not happening. Not happening. I'm going to troll Billie Eilish. Hey, go ahead. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the world stays peaceful, but we got a War Department now, so anything's game. Anyways, let's just get into the friendly topic about illegals, huh? A friendly, totally non-controversial topic. So we got here, are you illegal? That's the PP today. That's what we got for you. My defendants, because I framed this like a trial, the defendants is obviously Billie Eilish and her just not knowing what the argument is and what is so important that's before the Supreme Court that's going on right now today. We're going to talk about the three real important things today. And obviously people like Hassan Piker who think they're lawyers, who think they're policymakers, who think they know what they're talking about, but they don't actually know they can't explain the details, like the actual legal nitty-gritty of what's going on with the big battles and why they should or might go one way or another. And I'm going to be very fair here today. Unlike Mr. Piker, right? I don't just give one side of the argument. I give both sides, the pros and the cons for the approach for each of these three big changes. Obviously, the plaintiffs are Trump. Trump passed all of the pretty much all of these executive orders today. And then, of course, we have so many based VTubers, but we have one in particular that's been very based, and I think it should be a plaintiff today. And I'm going to play the clip, and I think this is allowing them to be part of the plaintiff's party today. So here we go.
The only reason people should be upset with ICE is because they're not doing enough. They need to deport more people. They would have to deport like thousands of people every week in order to make a dent in the issues that we have right now. But that's not going to happen.
There we go. So I think that puts her in the plaintiff's party. I think we get to put her in the plaintiff's party. So she gets put in the plaintiff's party for today. Powder's up there. All right. Also, F95XM150 legal mindset memberships.
Not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
Thank you for that very, very much. I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody. I saw everybody in the chat being very, very nice, saying thank you for those. So I appreciate that. We try to keep this the most respectful chat out there on the internet. So I appreciate you guys being respectful today. Thank you. All right. And then Kathy Swamp Queen says, good morning, Andrew. Made a couple of fresh key lime pies. Too bad they don't ship well. Thank you. That would be a long shipping to Thailand, but I do appreciate that. I do love key lime pie. It is very good. Shiffy, welcome as a new member. And Patter's Amelia model is awesome. I agree. Very awesome. All right. Let's get into our opening statements today in our trial here as we frame it for Are You Illegal? We're going to talk about three things. First is birthright citizenship. So what is birthright citizenship? We'll get into that. Then mandatory immigration detention and asylum and border access. And the reason why these things are all important, guys, and the reason why this is huge, all of these cases are going to be decided this year. Okay? This is not a next year thing. This is not a 10 years from now thing. This year. And this is going to decide the direction of how immigration is allowed to go in America, because all of these are ruling on the executive orders. Now, yes, Congress can get off their ass and do something, right? But for now, all we have is the executive orders to change how things are done. So without these executive orders from Trump, right, it pretty much reverts back to the way things were before. So if all of these cases are lost, it's going to be problematic for the administration. It's going to create a lot of problems, and it may reverse a lot of the immigration policies that have been handed down for a while. So these are big. And by the way, any decision on any of these can result in a massive amount in change in the number of people in the United States. So this is huge. So let's get into birthright citizenship. So birthright citizenship is the concept that you are granted automatic citizenship upon birth. So you are born in the United States, even if you're only here for a second. You are born in the United States and you are an American. And that's based on the 14th Amendment. And I'm going to read this for a second. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And I underline that because that language is the entire legal battle. So the entire legal battle is this. Also, I appreciate the PP emoji. It's very good. Very good. That's the legal battle, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Are citizens of the United States and the state where they reside. So they're arguing, what does subject to the jurisdiction of mean? So there's two separate possible meanings of this. The conservative, I'll say the liberal, the left side, or I will even say some of the historical rulings have said that mere presence in America is enough versus saying you need full allegiance. So the difference is, if you cross this border wall and you immediately have a baby, right? Are you really somebody who is fully loyal to the United States? Even if you still have dual citizenship, even if you have you're not an American citizen, you're not even a permanent resident, you're an illegal alien, you're someone who's here who is not here legally, right? Is that a person that is loyal to the United States, that has gone through the naturalization process, that's done everything that normal people do to become citizens, right? And so the argument here splits, and we're going to get into that. So the courts typically interpreted things broadly, and this goes back to this case, U.S. versus Wong Kim Ark. Yes, that's a Chinese name. That's not racist to assume that. That's a Chinese name. It's back in the day, 1898, when they had racial quotas, right? Yes, they had racial quotas back in the day against the Chinese, right? And they ruled in favor of the Chinese resident, that their, I believe, child was a U.S. citizen. So that's something that has historically been interpreted broadly. So they've given a lot of leeway. That's what got us in this situation we are today, is that this clause has been super broad. However, Trump's executive order on January 20th, 2025, directed agencies to deny citizenship to children born in the U.S. after February 19th, 2025, unless one parent is a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. So the one thing that people get wrong here with this is they try to make it sound like Trump changed it so that all past, we call it anchor baby, whatever else, right? Any child before doesn't count. No, it's only after his executive order. So it doesn't go back in time. It's not going to get everybody from this. Now, there's mandatory deportation, which may get other people, but it doesn't get everybody, right? So it just gets people going forward. So that's pretty much a limited class. Now, there was a storm of lawsuits after this because of this narrowing of the definition of birthright citizenship. I want to clarify, this does not end birthright citizenship. It does not. If you are a legal, it would change it so that, okay, if you're a legal resident and you have a kid, then it's still birthright. Because remember, birthright is you're born in that place, you have it, right? So, but it's you're born in that place subject to the restriction of. So be born in that place as a legal resident or as a citizen, perhaps. So they'd be narrowing that definition, right? But not completely ending it. Okay. So the Pie Baker said, Billy does a lot of partying for someone whose mom is known bountying daughters who party too much. Context, her mom played Samora and Me Too. Okay, interesting. Thank you. All right. So that happened. Now, there was injunctions issued by the lower courts because the lower courts are often very biased. But the Supreme Court overturned those injunctions. So now there's a Supreme Court case pending. So here's the pros and the cons. And here's the argument, right? The pro is that the framers intended, and this is pro narrowing, pro Trump, pro narrowing, right? So pro administration. So in arguing in favor of the administration, favor of Trump, the framers intended to exclude people with foreign allegiances. We see that all over the Constitution. They did not like people who have foreign allegiance. That's something very, very clear. The framers did not want you to have foreign allegiance. They wanted you to be loyal to America, right? That's pretty indisputable that that was their overall intent and what they're doing. Next is a deference to executive immigration power. Even in the case of Trump versus Hawaii, you see that they defer to the executive. And that's how we've gotten in this bad situation, because the executive has so much power. When the president changes, there's a lot of power over immigration. And in the past, that's been used to lighten things up, to make it easier, to flood the waters, right? You can do a lot of things with that. And the other thing, and this is just the bigger, like, holistic argument, is a broad interpretation, birthright. If you just get over the fence, if you just merely present in the United States, that incentivizes illegal entry. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It's just, it incentivizes illegal entry. And it incentivizes people to engage in bad behavior in order to have that guarantee, right? The arguments against, so this is ones that Hassan Piker would like here. And this is, to be honest, the existing case precedent is broad. And so the case law is against Trump. So this is the hardest thing, is that the case law is against Trump. And when you have a lot of case law against you, there's something called stare decisis, a tendency to go with what's there already. And a lot of justices like to go with what's there already. However, there's another argument as well, which is good. I wouldn't say better, but it's good, which is you might need a constitutional amendment. So you might need to amend the 14th Amendment. We all know that's not going to happen. Congress is never going to amend the Constitution. I mean, it's just not going to happen, especially on a topic like this. They're not going to get the votes. So they're arguing it's necessary, and which pretty much means you can't ever do it, right? And so the odds on this are 50-50 only because the case law part is a huge part in favor against Trump. But what's pro is the makeup of the court. It's 6-3. So, and yes, some of those are meant to waffle and some of those justices waffle, but it's 6-3. So a lot of those that are in the majority tend to favor originalism and tend to favor the framers' intent. And I think when you harp on the allegiances part and the needing allegiance, meaning subject to the jurisdiction of, that I think could be there. And they can narrowly tailor this to say, hey, you've got to at least be legal, right? You've got to have some sort of legal status. So maybe it doesn't end it completely, but maybe it says, hey, you need to have a visa. You need to have some sort of legal way in. You can't enter the country illegally, and you and your partner or, whatever, your baby daddy are both illegal, and all of a sudden you're present and there's a kid and that kid's a citizen, right? That wouldn't be intended by the framers. They wouldn't want that, right? Because obviously, once again, it incentivizes the illegal activity. So we'll see. All right. Now we get into mandatory detention. We get Tom Homan. So let's get to the clip by Tom Homan. And this one is the one that really, I think it gets us to the ICE era, and it gets us to the gotta catch 'em all, which we may or may not play the Pokemon clip if I have time. I'm trying to get things done in a speedy fashion tonight, but we'll see.
For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions. If you're in the country illegally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration, and immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise.
Okay, so essentially, this is a big change. This is actually a massive change, but you wouldn't understand it without getting a little bit more context, right? So the context here is the Immigration and Nationality Act, and you have to understand that to be able to understand what he's saying here. So this is a reinterpretation of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the INA. And in the INA, this Immigration and Nationality Act, it requires mandatory detention. That means locking people up, right, without bail. If you clearly and beyond a doubt are not clearly and beyond a doubt entitled to be admitted. So meaning, if you do not have a reason to be here legally, right, boom, mandatory detention, right? There's other exceptions. There's other clauses, etc. And in the past, this has been interpreted lightly, right? This has been interpreted lightly. However, Trump went back and said, nope, all illegal entries, even decades ago, are subject to mandatory detention, meaning ICE needs to get working. This is behind a lot of the ICE stuff. So a lot of the ICE stuff we're seeing right now, the ICE protests exactly, is based on this. So all of these things coming out right now, the protest is essentially enforcement of this mandatory detention, right? There's other things going on there. There's other factors. There's, really bad people, et cetera, that need to be getting off the streets. But mandatory detention of people that have even been here decades ago is a different interpretation than what they were doing in the past. They were letting people slide who'd been here for a certain period of time, right? In the Biden administration and the Obama administration, they might let people slide because, they've been here for 5 or 10 years. So whatever, we're not going to care about that, right? We're going to let that go. We're going to focus on recent stuff or whatever, right? No, we're going to go back, and we're going to go back to the beginning of time. And if you're in here illegally, boom, we're going to get you, right? So there is no SCOTUS case on this. This is not going to Supreme Court, but there's highly likely, as there is a circuit split. So there's a circuit split over the interpretation of this and whether it allows for the detention of all illegal entries. So that's a big one, a massive one. Someone said, can we start with the violent ones first? Well, that's logical, right? That's just proceeding logically. And I think from what I understand, that's the general wish and intent, right? But you're going to get other people scooped up in that too, right? As you're going through that. Let's see. Astral said an illegal can be arrested and charged if they commit a crime such as theft or murder. Doesn't that mean they're subject to jurisdiction, or is it a different type of jurisdiction? That's a very good argument. So you might say, and that's like the argument of presence, right? So the left would argue that, or the people that are pro broad interpretation would argue what you're arguing right now. And they would say, well, you're subject to jurisdiction as long as you're physically present. Because once you're physically present in the United States, you're subject to its laws. That is correct. Once again, see, when we have this is good discussion, right? When we have discussion here, I'm willing to acknowledge these points. That is a point that would be brought up. But what does jurisdiction mean, right? Because, for example, you're not a citizen, so you're not subject to a lot of the requirements of a citizen, right? Like conscription, right? Or voting, right? Or the other privileges and immunities, et cetera, of citizens, right? So, yeah, that's a big question, right? So that's an interpretation that Supreme Court needs to narrow down. Is it just jurisdiction of law in general? You're here physically and now you can be arrested for whatever, or is it you need to be allegiant to the United States? You need to be subject as a citizen, right? Okay, it's a good question. Okay, so but anyways, mandatory detention gets us to the got 'em catch 'em all era. So we've got a little bit of time here. Let's play it. I want to play now. In case you guys don't know, this goes back to my crusade against Pokemon, because Pokemon they wanted to say we do not endorse this, but they did not actually strike the video, order it taken down. They didn't have the balls to go against the Department of Homeland Security. They just wanted to yap and pick on small creators and pick on small people. They want to sue Pal World. They want to do all this stuff without actually throwing down against the U.S. government. Because, by the way, this is totally fair use and transformative. So in case you haven't seen the Don P. Bongwater video, I'll play a little bit of that. Play like 2 minutes of that. But that gets us to the gotta catch them all. Now that gets us to the era in which ICE is out there arresting everybody. So let's watch this little video, a little bit of the Pokemon video as a throwback to the gotta catch them all era.
I am Tsunekazu Ishihara, and I will fight ICE as the leader of Team Antifa.
Good work, by the way. Good work, by the way. Nice break. Water break. Smash the like button, brother. It's good.
Like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To fight them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide, teaching illegal to understand. We will slow down the
So good. Pokemon still hasn't struck it, baby. The song slap.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Our heart's so true. DHS will pull us through. Trespass here and now. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
Oh, so good.
Gotta catch 'em all. Every challenge along the way.
I'll flavor it. We're almost
There's no
done.
immigrant I can't face.
It's too good.
I will battle every day in a curry or taco place. Come with me, the time is right. There's no better team. Arm in arm, we'll win the fight. It's always been our dream. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's our destiny. Oh, you're reported. A dude at Home Depot got you deported. Oh,
A dude at Home Depot got you deported, bro. Too good. Too good.
our heart's so true. Courage will pull
2 minutes.
us
We're
through.
good through.
You teach me and I'll
So good.
find you.
Shout out to Don P. Water. Good stuff.
Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. 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 Gotta catch 'em all.
All right, we'll drop it there. We'll drop it there because I'm on a time crunch today. But good stuff by Don P. Bongwater. Nice stuff. That gets us to the thing that I wanted to talk about, which is that's how ICE is out there on the streets doing it, catching them all, right? And that's how they got to that Pokemon reference. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Very good video by Don P. Bongwater. Also, today, have I been behaving myself? Because I don't think I've swore. I think the swear jar is not full today, but I'm going to put some money in the swear jar for that because that video has some spicy content. So we'll donate to the swear jar on that behalf. Let's see here. Let's get some super chats, and then we'll get back into the last one, which is Asylum. Silbury Sign, member for 23 months, says, speaking of interpretation, thinking about North Carolina's Sheriff McFadden appealing to the literal word of the NC law, excluding sheriff from the definition of executive. See that clip I sent? I probably missed it. I'm sorry. I get a ton of clips. So if you resend it to me, I'll try to catch it. But thank you. Digital Lee says, how is it that an illegal alien can be granted automatic citizenship, but a foreign ambassador's child does not? If a foreign ambassador is denied because they lack allegiance, then why does an illegal alien who also has to make an exception? I don't know the exact specifics of that case. It could be where it happened. So if it happened on the grounds of a foreign embassy, right, based on how the jurisdiction of the embassy is treated, right? Because sometimes, right, you can treat the embassy, and this does vary. There's different countries that treat this differently, by the way, but you can have a kid at a foreign embassy, like a military base, right? Like if you're born on a military base, like John McCain was, right? If you're born somewhere that is the jurisdiction of a foreign country, you're viewed as, okay, I'm under the jurisdiction of that country because they're controlling the embassy and I'm technically on foreign land there, right? That's like a mini part of that country in another country. So you step into the French embassy and you're technically in France, right? Even though we all know you're not. And even though the U.S. military would be protecting the French embassy in America, right? That can be treated differently, right? So that might be the distinction there. I don't know exactly the scenario you might be talking about. But yeah, more born in a military base. Yeah, I was born in a military base. There you go. You know, and once again, you're counted as you're born in a military base is subject to that jurisdiction, right? So yeah. Yeah. Also, that's a good point. An ambassador is not subject to the USA. They have diplomatic immunity even though their child is born in a U.S. hospital. Once again, complicated questions, right? But when it comes down to those things, the details matter, right? And that's where the SCOTUS needs to clarify. In the past, we didn't need to clarify these things because we didn't have the same problems and we didn't have the same factors. But nowadays, we do need to clarify these things because they're a problem that didn't exist in 1898 because there wasn't a same sort of flood of people storming across the border. Okay. Never heard anybody say French embassy out loud. Sorry, I just had to think of something that I didn't think of something. I don't know why I was thinking of France. Maybe I was probably thinking, to be honest, of that horrible situation with Antifa in France where that poor kid was, beat up. And everything going on over there is just insane. Okay, but let's continue to asylum and border access. So what asylum and border access, what we're talking about is getting to the border. So one of the strategies, and this was something, and I know this dealing with people that were immigration lawyers in the US, one of the strategies for people coming to the US is to claim asylum. And unfortunately, claiming asylum is pretty broad, as you're going to see. So a lot of people can show up, say asylum, and then all of a sudden the procedures are triggered where you have to go through an analysis for asylum, right? So the INA allows application for asylum by those present at the border if they demonstrate a well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, that's the big one, and membership in a social group. So they might say, hey, I'm in this I like the opposing party in El Salvador, or the opposing party in Guatemala, or the opposing party in Nicaragua, and I'm being persecuted, right? That would be something they would have to analyze at the border. They'd say, okay, well, you got to come in. Now we got to do an analysis. But the Trump order put aggressive, and this was an executive order on January 20th, put aggressive restrictions on asylum, which is a massive, massive thing that could be potentially abused. And pretty much it suspended asylum without proper paperwork. And this is something, once again, that change I think is very reasonable. If you don't have your paperwork in order, you should not be able to apply for asylum. But then beyond that, he canceled the app appointments for asylum claims. They had an app. He canceled those. And he also stepped up two policies which are used to limit asylum seekers. The first is called metering, which is setting a capacity for asylum seekers, saying we're only going to take so many per day. And the second one is the MPP, which is the Migrant Protection Protocol, which is remain in Mexico. So essentially saying, hey, you got to stay in Mexico while these things are being processed. You're not going to come to the United States. So these are being challenged, as you might know, in two cases, the Nome case and the Urias case. In the Nome case, it's asking whether or not asylum seekers at points of entry, but stopped on the Mexican side. So they're not in America yet. They're on the Mexican side. Whether they, quote unquote, arrive in the U.S., entitling them to claim asylum, right? Obviously, the Trump administration and the agencies argue that you need to physically enter the U.S. You're not entitled to due process or whatever else until you get there. Mind you, understand, guys, as soon as they trigger this process, Americans are paying for it. Because the American government has to pay for the review of this, for the agents to go through and review this at the BIA, and then potentially for the judges to review this. None of this is free. It's like going and claiming asylum is a burden on the country that, in which the asylum claim is made, right? So it's not magically free somehow. And they're saying that this the metering and the turnbacks are justified. And this decision is expected this year in June or July of 2026. So it's coming soon, right? The other one, the Urias case, is whether or not courts must defer to the Board of Immigration, the BIA, determination of persecution. So the agents themselves are determining first whether or not they think the person is persecuted. But what can happen is a judge and let's say it's an activist judge, can say, oh no, I think everybody's being persecuted, so we're just going to let them all in. This Uriah's case would limit judicial review. So it would limit the ability for some activist judge to get in there and say, hey, oh no, I disagree with the agency. They're being racist. They're being mean. They're being evil. Well, I don't like what they're doing. I'm going to overturn that and say you're being persecuted. So it limits the judges. It's going to let the agency do it, right? So that case is coming up in spring, and that's going to be massive because once again, it's cutting down the procedure, it's cutting down the costs, and it's deferring to the agency, which has been given certain directives, right? So what's my judgment? I think it's a coin flip on the birthright citizenship success. I think that overall, in my opinion, and this is somebody who's looked at this, studied this. I'm from Florida. You know, I'm very familiar with a lot of immigration issues. If this is not changed, the illegal activity will be incentivized and it's going to continue, right? Versus if it's something that is changed, then it will actually push back against that. Next, mandatory detention, I think is going to be upheld if it goes before SCOTUS. I think that's something that is very, very, it's going to be very difficult to go against the agency interpretation. And typically they defer to the agency interpretation when it comes to the INA and the INA Act. So I think that one will go Trump's way. The first one's a coin flip. Second one might go that way. Now, asylum favors the administration, the agencies as well, but you could have individual cases where they're making an exception. And what we're seeing is circuit splits where certain circuits and courts are going in one way and another. So these cases will clear this up for some of these circuits, but there may be exceptions. There may be certain procedural errors or something else that may be able to get there. But I think that one also favors the administration in terms of metering, also in terms of the BIA discretion. So I think these things are actually, you know, at least 2 out of the 3 look good for the Trump administration. I think one of them's a coin flip, could go either way. But it's going to be very important to monitor these, and all these are going to be decided. All of these are going to be decided by summer of this year. So we're going to know the way immigration is going to go in the United States this year. So that's what I got on that. Now we know. Now Billie Eilish has been schooled on this. Everybody should know what it is and what the real fight is over who is illegal, what is illegal. That's the actual law. That's the actual things that are really important that are being contended in America right now, right? All this other stuff is just people's feelings or whatever. It's not the facts, and it's certainly not the law, right? So anybody going out there and talking about this other stuff doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? Patrick S., and I got to put one in the swear jar for that, right? Okay. Patrick, I believe Trump also completely blanket denying asylum for anyone who's trying to come from the country in the Middle East. And these can be more problematic because if it comes into, okay, you know, he had a problem with the Middle East bans originally, right? And some of these can get overturned. But if you tweak the basis for it, right, and you give some sort of objective statistic or you give some sort of reason, right, that will generally be enough to lay in favor of the administration. So if you're able to say, okay, we're objectively doing this for X reason, right, we're not just doing this because we don't like brown people. No, that's not the reason. It's because objectively, let's do it in national security, right? These are unsafe countries. These are countries with a high number of foreign terrorist organizations. That's very objective, saying, look at the foreign terrorist organization list. They have a lot of them. That's objective, right? It's something that's facts over feelings. And that's what you got to get to. But anyways, guys, don't go anywhere. There's a Fast Facts coming up. I'm going to be hitting that one. I'll be back probably Sunday or Monday with another live. Make sure you tune in for that and stay based. I love you guys. I missed you guys. 1,000. We beat Frogan, guys. We beat Frogan. No human is illegal, like nobody reasonably ever said or meant it the way you want us to mean it. No, that's right. All right, guys, stay based. Don't be coping and seething.
You are coping and seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are molding. You're coping so hard. Coping, you're seething. Coping, you're seething.